Alright guys, Touch Rugby back again today, hoping you're enjoying your Monday so far, and today we've got to recap day 3 of the New York home series. The Championship Sunday concluded, very surprising manner, 3-0s all around. Pretty sure that's the first time that's happened, maybe in Call of Duty history to be honest, on the Championship Sunday, but certainly so far this season. New York end up winning their own home series, the first team to do so since the Atlanta FaZe did it on LAN several months ago now. Lots of things to talk about here, a very interesting Championship Sunday indeed, with serious implications for how the rest of the season stands up. Of course, power rankings are a big question right now. How exactly is the champ seeding going to look? Definitely many questions to be answered in the comment section below by you guys. I'll be reading all of them as always. Intrigued to hear your thoughts. Like if you guys enjoy the video, subscribe if you're new as always. I would greatly appreciate it. First of all, big thank you to Cam Allen for all the scoreboards we're going to be going through in today's video. And the first series of the day was Atlanta FaZe versus the Chicago Huntsmen. This is a series that we hadn't seen all season long, was very much highly anticipating it. I did predict the Huntsmen to win if these two teams were to match up in the grand finals. They ended up matching in the semi-finals, and it was still a very interesting matchup indeed. So map number 1 here on this Hackney Yards hardpoint, definitely a very comfortable map I think for the Huntsmen. They tend to be very good on this one. They had the good side early on Hackney Yard and basically didn't make a mistake in most of this hardpoint. Atlanta FaZe came out and honestly kind of got smoked in this one. It was somewhat close early on, but Huntsmen pulled away and won this one. But then the game 2 was really where it took off for the Huntsmen, because these guys, Search and Destroy has been their downfall this entire season. And well, FaZe of course have a fantastic Search and Destroy. This was not something I expected the Huntsmen to come out and 6-1 Atlanta FaZe. They won 6 Search and Destroy rounds in a row here. I'll put a 1v2 from RCT's up on screen right here. But yeah, definitely just a fantastic performance from the Huntsmen. The clutch factor was on another level. They were winning their 1v1s all over the place. Well, their strats were pretty good. There was some pretty basic mistakes being made by Atlanta FaZe at times, throwing away rounds, which you wouldn't really expect them to do. But the Huntsmen just running through Atlanta FaZe like this really wasn't what I was expecting. I was thinking FaZe would at least win. You know, maybe they'd win the Search, and you know, they'd probably win the domination if it goes there, and I thought at least it was going to game 4 or something like that, but it doesn't happen. Huntsmen go back to Hackney Yards and win the domination as well. So really a comfortable series from the Huntsmen. This one especially was where we've talked about this 3 AR meta, the fact that yes, RCTs and Formal are going to be very comfortable on the main ARs, Scump and Envoy on the SMGs, but you know, Pristini on this M4, is he going to be able to make it work? Is he going to be as comfortable as some of the other teams are with their 3rd AR? This map he really proved he can do it. He won on an unprecedented 15 streak. FaZe had an advantage early on, but they really did bring it back, the Huntsmen, and yeah, they absolutely smoked Atlanta FaZe in this series. Really wasn't close by any means. Definitely a very impressive result for the Huntsmen, and very surprising indeed, to be honest, given it was the first time these teams had matched up this entire season. I felt like FaZe were going to put up a better fight than they managed in this one. But we look at the series right here, like Priesta has 30 kills over the course of it, 0.6 KD. RCT's has a great series here, as long with Envoy the 1.2. So yeah, Huntsman just had a fantastic series here. And yeah, well, Scump doesn't have the best KD in the hardpoint, but it doesn't matter at all when they're winning 250 to 160. So yeah, very surprising to be honest that FaZe couldn't put up really any fights here at all. And after this series, a lot of people were saying, well, look, you know, Huntsman, are they the best team in the game? How do you quantify that? What are you saying about Florida? Given that maybe the meta has hurt them, and clearly it seems to be helping Chicago to some degree. However, if you're going to call them the best team in the game, they probably have to close out the event, and we'll talk about exactly how that happened in a few seconds here. But yeah, I'm not exactly sure where FaZe go next from here, because they're getting smoked by Huntsmen, they're getting smoked by Florida. What do they do to bounce back from this, given that we do now know that Champs is online? Even more impressive for the Huntsmen that Pristini then says they lagged out at the TeamSpeak first side, so they were 4v5ing in comms in the first side of the domination, but still win in a very impressive manner indeed. And well, if we look at the viewership here, as Granite CDL Intel points out, it was well, one of the highest numbers we've seen this entire season. So that was very cool to see Call of Duty coming back to life to some degree. But then we have the other semi-final to discuss. Of course, intrigued to hear your thoughts on this Chicago FaZe stuff down in the comment section below. Really interesting series to be honest. I think there's a lot of storylines that come out of this on both sides. But really, the grand finals was well, took it to another level. So we have Subliners versus the Toronto Ultra here, and game number 1 was actually crazy. Ultra, I genuinely thought they were going to win this, but Subliners make a crazy break towards the end to win it, absolute ice from Accuracy and the guys, and then Accuracy continues with his Iceman status in this game too. 6-2 on well, Arklov Peak Search and Destroy. Accuracy had a great 1v3 in the final round to close out the game. Really reminiscent of World War II Accuracy on the Team Caliber team. If you guys remember that flank he made, maybe it was the second event at New Orleans or something like that, all the way through the spawn on Saint-Marie Dumont, and shot everyone in the back with the PPSH. Kind of reminiscing of that because everyone kind of lined up for him. Similar thing happens here. He gets the first kill on the bomb diffuser, repositions nicely, takes his time, throws out the stun, gets the 2-piece to finish off the job. So Subliners move up 6-2. And then this is a map that's typically very good for the Ultra here on Hackney Yard domination, but Subliners are probably even better at it and maybe the best team in the game on this map right now, given what they do to Huntsmen in the grand finals. Take this one 158 to 147. So yeah, definitely Ultra could have taken this to a game 4 or something, but we saw when the Subliners plays up against the Chicago Huntsmen earlier in the weekend, they were able to win game 3 and game 4 pretty comfortably. So I even think if it goes to game 4, I don't really have too much faith in Toronto that they're able to take that one out on this Hackney Yards hardpoint, but who knows. Impressive series from the Subliners, and of course Temp Co looking to match up in the grand finals with the Chicago Huntsmen and take them down, because the last time Attach and Zuma and these guys that we're looking in a second won an event was back at this stage 1 playoffs, I believe, in World War II, when they were up against the OpTic gaming team with Scump and Formal and Co on it. And you know, Attach and Zuma as a duo love playing against, well, Scump's teams more generally, always tend to have a lot of clutch factor in these series, and well, we'll see that manifested itself when we get to the grand finals in a second. This is how it looked. I mean, Attach had a cracking series at a 1.6. Accuracy had a really good game 1. I think he dropped 40 in the game 1 actually, so he had a fantastic game 1, as did Attach, just carrying his team through the rest of this one. Not great slaying out of the side of the Ultra, but you know, to be expected, to be honest, when you're getting kind of smoked in a series like they did here. And then we have the grand finals, New York looking to defend their own crown against the Chicago Huntsmen. And going into this one, given what Huntsmen had just done to the Atlanta FaZe, I really did feel like they should be favourites here. And well, you know, New York have played them close in the past. They went game 5 earlier in the tournament, right? And they won that map 3 and 4. You know, potentially there was, you know, reverse sweep opportunities on the board. But this time it doesn't even need to happen, because game 1 hardpoint, Subliners come out with the fire here on Ramaza. And well, it has to be said, this was one of Temp's first grand finals in a long time. Yes, it's online, but we've talked about Temp for a while on this channel, right? How he hasn't won a championship yet and all of this stuff. Can his teams finally get it together? It seems like his team is really firing on all cylinders here, because this was not a weak Chicago by any means. This was not a Chicago that easily lets go of search and destroys and doesn't have the clutch factor, because, well, they showed it in the most recent series against Atlanta FaZe. I do feel like to some degree Chicago felt like after they beat Atlanta FaZe, that was the hurdle, right? That was the team they hadn't played so far this season. That was the number 1 team in the game. That's the team that they had to get past, or at least number 1 in terms of the standings. That's the team they had to get past to win this championship. And once they did that, I feel like Chicago felt like, you know, New York, they were a good team. We've beaten them a couple of times in the past. Most recently, we're taking them down in game 5. And maybe we're, you know, somewhat complacent, somewhat a little bit too confident coming into the series that it was going to be an easy job. You know, it kind of seemed to reflect in their play, because they weren't as cohesive as they were against the Atlanta FaZe, I felt. Game number 1, they clutch up. I mean, Subliners made a fantastic break towards the end. Scump had the opportunity to do some damage in the back, but he ends up getting taken out, and Zuma had a fantastic series here. And maybe Zuma is my event MVP for the weekend, given how much clutch factor and just the amount of 2 pieces that he popped when it mattered, especially with the MP5 in hand, which is not easy to do right now. Subliners clutch up and win the game 1. Then game 2, back to Ramaza as well. New York win this one. It was close, like Huntsmen almost made the comeback. It was 5-2. Alec and, well, Arstees and Brustini clutched a 2v4. They really shouldn't have won. It gets to 5-4, but then Subliners closed it out with a comfortable defensive round. And then we go on to the Hackney Yards, and Subliners, like, they had a good lead in this. They had a really good first side. Temp had a fantastic domination. I believe here it was like double positive. And then the Huntsmen bring it back. They have a really, really clean flip. It's definitely what you want on this map, is to hold A and B. And it's very easy if you hold A and B to, well, lock those down. And if they ever try and cap B, you can just rotate to C and you get a nice little spawn over there. And that's definitely the side you want to be on. But then Subliners bounced back only a minute and a little bit later, flipped the spawns once again and closed out the game. So 3-0s all over the park. Certainly not something I was expecting. Accuracy were the 1.3 over the grand final. Zuma with a 1.2. Just phenomenal stuff. And well, all of the guys in the Huntsmen couldn't really get too much going, especially on that domination where Brustini had taken over before. Had a pretty more poor map this time around. And Subliners definitely seem to be pretty comfortable with this meta right now. And very interesting to see them win this weekend, given that, you know, Huntsmen and FaZe were the 2 teams we were expecting to do something here. But New York Subliners come out and beat, well, they didn't beat both of those teams, but they beat the Huntsmen in a clinical fashion in this, well, in the grand finals to defend their own trophy. So Mac wins his first championship. Zuma and Attach win their first championship since the World War II days. I believe same story with accuracy since maybe stage 2 playoffs on the Team Caliber team. and Temp gets his very first one. You can talk about how it doesn't matter because it's online and all that stuff, which is of course fair enough. We've talked that discussion to death on this channel, but still pretty cool to see that finally this team manages to get it together and win a championship. They've been improving for quite a long time, and you know, got to say fair play to Temp finally getting the job done in this one, and had a really good grand finals performance as well, to be honest. These were the overall KDs, and Temp has a 1.14 over the weekend, back to the form we've seen him in previous seasons. Beezy though with a 1.3, Wuskin, Mac melts with a 1.22. Felt like Mac almost had a quiet weekend by his standards somehow, but was still dropping unbelievable numbers. Simp, RC's Blast, Assault, Asim and Attach up here as well. And then we have the overall league standings to look at. So FaZe retain their #1 spot, Huntsmen in second place right now. Florida and Empire didn't play this weekend, and Subliners pretty comfortably now in that 5th place position, bouncing up over Minnesota Rockers. So they're having a good latter half of the season. It's not going to be possible for them to get to the 4th place spot though, because they only play one more event, and if they win that, they'll go up to 180. So, you know, they're never going to get to top 4. But still, they're going to start in the winners bracket, guaranteed at this point pretty much. So yeah, cool to see the Subliners getting things together. And it really does beg the question, I'm sure we can talk about it coming days, exactly what the power rankings look like, right? Because Florida maybe have been hurt by this meta change to some degree. Huntsmen have clearly got better. Seems right now that Huntsmen are certainly a better team than FaZe, at least based on their matchup this weekend. But then where do you put Subliners, right? And do you put Huntsmen #1? Like, surely maybe you have to keep Mutineers where they are right now at the #1 spot for the time being. But yeah, begs a lot of questions as well. We'll have to see how Champs lines up in coming days. Also thought this was kind of interesting that on stream we saw, well, potentially a Champs leaked date. We talked about, well, maybe we didn't talk about it, but Dylan did a tweet a couple of days ago saying like 38 days until this is over with, implying it was maybe like the 3rd weekend in August. It does seem surprising to me that they would manage to do this over 2 days, given that there's like 18 series, so I'm sure it must be a 3-day event, so maybe this is wrong, not exactly sure what's going on. But next weekend, we have another championship, that being the London home series. You've got the Royal Ravens, of course, Empire, Gorillas, Mutineers, OpTic Gaming, Paris Legion, Seattle Surge, and the Subliners, so this is going to be an exciting one. The Empire are there, maybe Royal Ravens won't get an absolutely obnoxious bracket like they had this time playing against Chicago and New York, the two teams then end up getting to the grand finals. Subliners are there to try and defend their crown, but also the Mutineers to see how that's going to go as well. Exciting things ahead. Like if you guys enjoyed the video, subscribe if you're new. As always, I would greatly appreciate it. Thanks for watching. I'll see you next time.